All right, everyone, it's another special edition of the Announcer's Hour. I'm your host, Patrick McCall. We welcome on Jack Connolly, who comes in with the Cowlitz Black Bears and is also up here in the West Coast League like I am this summer. And, Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you having me, Patrick. I'm excited.
And what made you want to come up to Cowlitz to be with the Black Bears?
Well, I initially fell in love with the Northwest a couple years ago. I came to visit my cousin. He was playing soccer up at Gonzaga, and he came in right during COVID. So I didn't get a chance to go throughout his first 3 years. And I've been meaning to get out here, see one of his soccer games. And the stars all aligned for me to come up for his senior day. This would have been back in November of 22. And so I had a chance to get up here for a soccer game, senior day, just for, supposed to be a quick little weekend trip. And I almost didn't make it. There was rain. In Austin, we couldn't get out, and by the time we finally got out of Austin, our connection in Denver to Spokane was going to be delayed. We were going to miss it altogether, so we had a decision to make. Should we go up there, try and catch the flight the next morning, or just stay in Austin and bag the trip? But we followed through. Me and my older brother, we flew to Denver, stayed with our cousins, and only got up there for Saturday morning, and we left Sunday afternoon. And it paid off. I'm so glad we got up here. The first thing I noticed was crisp air, so green up here. It's got lakes, mountains, streams, just the whole package. And so I knew that ever since that trip, I've been trying to get back up here. And I worked in California last summer, broadcasting summer baseball. And I told myself, there's an opportunity, I'd love to get up here. And there's a great league in the West Coast. You know, we're getting worked up here, but we're growing. So just the opportunity arose. I interviewed. Had a great interview process with Gus and met some of the members of the staff, and then I signed since February, and I've been counting down the days since.
Nice. And what made you want to get into play-by-play sports?
I've always wanted to become a journalist. I remember growing up, I wanted to be playing on the field. I didn't know what it was going to be. I always loved baseball, basketball, and football. Baseball's always been probably my first love. I was best at baseball. But I played football in high school, baseball in high school, but I always loved the debate shows. I remember growing up, I had OG First Take with Skip Bayless and Stephen A., and it was peak TV. I just remember it's just so captivating. I was locked in every morning to First Take. Then I also loved Sports Nation, and then I loved just being at the games. You know, play-by-play, aside from the COVID era, which we're thankfully gotten past, I wanted to be in the games and be in the arena. And so I started calling play-by-play my senior year of high school. The girls' varsity basketball team needed a commentator, so I slid on, and that's how I got my start.
Nice. And for those that don't know, we're literally out here at the Ridgefield Outdoor Recreation Complex filming this podcast outside, just down the third baseline. And so it's really in the elements. And you know, also going off that point, what was your first few games like broadcasting?
It's been fun. We have a lot of responsibilities. I knew it was going to be a grind in taking that next step. You know, that's something I was grateful for in the interview process. It was very straight up. They told me it's going to be intense. You're going to get worked. You're going to get stretched. You know, the lot's on our plate. And the first week, it was really tough. We talked about it coming in here. You know, we're in the Northwest. We want to be able to explore and take it in and see everything it has to offer. But after that first week, I just wanted to chill and decompress. Last Monday was a total recovery day to get back into the swing of things, you know, take a step back, prepare myself. And then last week, we hit the ground running, went up to Nanaimo first time in Canada against the Night Owls. Black Bears got win, first of West Coast League play. We finished up a 2-game series. But just this week, I'm already handling it better. You know, the post-game graphics, in-game Twitter, journalism, you know, media relations, game notes. There's just a lot is on our plate. So it's been a busy first couple weeks. You know, it's supposed to be a marathon, but at times it's felt like a sprint early on.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that Canadian trip? For those that are unfamiliar, the West Coast League, it's all up in the Pacific Northwest, but there's a couple teams up there beyond the American border in the British Columbia region. So, I mean, what was that like to take that big trip up there from Cowlitz?
Man, it was an experience to visit our neighbors to the north. I've never been up there, so it was cool going up there. A little stressful the word of advice, passport, 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 it was just ringing in my head. The days leading up, I had about 100 check notes, had to make sure I kept having it. At the very least, all I need is my broadcast equipment and my passport. And so it was just making sure I have those things. But we took I-5 all the way up to the border. Got a chance to drive past Seattle. I had a great time in Seattle when I first came out here. And then I actually slept the first time up because it was a 5:45 report time. Had to report to the bus. Don't miss it. That's what they kept telling us. And then we had to go through customs. It was a breeze. And then Canada was gorgeous. It was different. As soon as you crossed over, it was in the air. It was different in the air. And then I hopped on a ferry. It's about an hour and a half, 2-hour ferry ride to Nanaimo, to Vancouver Island. And it was sweet. Just getting up there, really on island time. I wrote that in my recap. And for the games, it was awesome. You had close to 1,000 fans there. It was warm. Weather was nice. You had the beach breeze. And for 3 games, it was funny. I was telling people I've been on island the past 3 days. Black Bears got a win. And then our off day was our travel day. So when we were trying to get back, it was a long day. We left at 9 a.m., reported the bus at 9 a.m. on Friday, didn't get back to Longview until 8 o'clock that night.
Wow, so did you have to, that is not a usual trip. You had the ferry back as well.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's interesting. And, what have you kind of learned in your broadcasting time so far? And is there any guys that you're looking up to as well, like that have given you a lot of good advice?
Yeah, I have a lot of mentors, a lot of guys that I watch on a national stage, but I've been lucky to talk to people that I've met in Texas, California, Nebraska, even on the coast. I know one of my mentors is Jake Ramada. He works for the Ole Miss. He's a broadcast specialist at Ole Miss. He's been very helpful, just bouncing things off of. I've been lucky enough to be able to speak with Mike Monaco, Kyle Peterson, kings of college baseball in the broadcasting world, as well as Beto Duran, just a journeyman in the LA sports media scene, and Lowell Galindo down in Texas. I've been blessed to be able to meet true pros, be around and learn from those guys and get a chance to speak with them. Ellie French is another one. She's a rising star up in Wisconsin, Green Bay. I met her when I interned at a local news, the ABC affiliate in Omaha, Nebraska. I try to learn something from everybody at every stop. There's going to be different philosophies, but any chance you get to be able to learn from people who've been through it, I don't take those opportunities for granted.
Yeah, that's a good message. What are your ultimate goals, too, in broadcasting?
Oh, man, I love this question. I'd love to call the NBA one day. That'd be the peak. Love to call the NBA and college football. But being from Omaha, the mecca of college baseball, it's a personal goal to call a College World Series game. That's a personal dream of mine. I grew up going to the series. Barely remember Rosenblatt, but I've gone past year 13, year 14 here at TD Ameritrade. But it'd be a dream to call the College World Series. I love baseball as well, a Major League Baseball game, but I love the grind. I love growing. You're just getting your career started, but once you do something, you want to appreciate what it took to get there, but you just want to keep on climbing. And the hustle, just falling in love with the process.
Yeah, it's a true hustle as well. And what do what's your usual day-to-day like if you have a baseball game in the evening? What's your prep like and your process?
So I'm trying to institute a gym time. I don't have a membership, and I actually just got my Planet Fitness membership this morning. I've been trying to find a way to get into the gym because I found that just getting into the gym, exercising, stretching for 45 minutes, an hour a day is just a way to decompress because it gets stressful. If I don't think about it and if I'm not making concerted efforts to take my mind away from work, I'll get overconsumed with all that I have to do. And it's just learning a schedule. That's the routine with so much going on. You want to find time and make sure you stick to that schedule because there's a lot going on, but if you can make sure your time is allocated properly, working smarter, you got to work hard, but you got to utilize your time. Make sure I can get to the gym, get some prep in, as well as eat. My diet's very important to me. I slip up. I'm sure everybody does, but I like to eat as clean as I can. I'm not a big soda guy. Energy drinks and coffee That's kind of my kryptonite. That's what gets me. But just staying healthy and taking care of myself, making sure I'm ready for the game, but as well as taking care of my whole self outside of the booth.
And that's a whole nother thing that I could definitely speak on as well with that, but it really is a story for another time. And you know, kind of what's your process like in college when you go back in the fall?
So my time in college, it's been a roller coaster. I like to tell people I feel like I've lived 5 different lives the past 5 years, going from high school student trying to get recruited to going back to football my senior year to getting ready for college, as well as the broadcast grind. And it's evolved. I played baseball at St. Edward's Division II school in the Lone Star Conference for a year and a half, which I loved it. I absolutely loved the grind. You know, just being a part of a team. You can't replace that. But since I stopped playing, immediately I jumped into it. And so you can ask people around me, those closer to me. I've gotten smarter. I've learned to deal with it. When I first started, I barely was sleeping. Time management's always been hard for me. Well, I've always been blessed with an abundance of energy, but using that wisely. So when I get back, one of my goals, I want to call high school football in Texas. It's big down there, and maybe call a college football game this year. But that's my goal. You know, checklist. Call a football game before I get done with school.
And I think you will. And you know, off that, I mean, what do you think you have a different perspective having played at a higher level and then broadcasting that same, you know, thing, basically turn around and broadcasting those kind of teams?
I do think it's given me the ability to know the game on a deeper level, as well as relate to the players and like a deeper understanding of what's going on the field. As fans, we only see what's going on the field. Sometimes we have a chance to see how they're doing on social media, but a lot of these guys and players and the amazing female athletes that I've covered, they're just normal people. You know, the sport is not their identity. It's a vital part of who they are, but it's not all about who they are. So getting to know these players has been something that I appreciate and take pride in, just getting to know them on the floor, off the court, off the field, as well as when they're in between the lines.
Yeah, you know, there's really a lot of great stories that happen in up here in the West Coast League. And, you know, what's one thing this summer that you're trying to really work on, you think, in play-by-play, given you have this basically sprint over the next couple months?
I want to stay prepared. That's the biggest thing, as well as being entertaining. We're calling baseball up here. There's a lot of dead time. And you want to find a way to keep people engaged. You know, I find myself asking during a broadcast, would I want to listen to myself? Am I being entertaining? And there's so many things that goes into calling a game. There's so many levels of your mind and your brain. There's obviously the X's and O's, what's going on the field, as well as being informative and entertaining at the same time. So just growing as a broadcaster and being an entertainer, you know, telling a story, you know, creating an environment that people want to tune into.
You know, as an athlete, you know, and having that experience, and now with the Black Bears, you know, have you seen your time get easier to relate to the guys and be able to know what they're going through and get your stories for the season? Yeah.
You know, Joe Buck, everybody likes to hate on him. He's the easiest target. You're a St. Louis guy. You know, everybody talks about he's boring, but, you know, he doesn't get the best jobs for nothing. There's a reason he's at the top. And it comes with the territory. People are going to criticize every mistake that we make on the air. We say something wrong. We don't word it properly. People are going to be honest. And especially as we keep elevating, it comes with the territory. So dealing with criticism, not worrying about what people think, what people are going to say, and being ourselves is something that I take with me when I call a game. You know, I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm trying to be myself. And that's something that I think it's important for all broadcasters, all the good ones. You know, they have similarities. You can draw comparisons to this person, to another person, but being who you are, bringing your personality outside of the booth to when you get on the mic, I think is important.
Yeah, and, you know, that's a really good point to mention that, you know, a lot of people, you don't want to, and I've heard this in a lot of our guests say, don't try to be someone else that you're not on the air, because then it ends up, like the viewer ends up, or the listener ends up seeing that and hearing that and knowing that it's not authentic. And as you head forward this summer, I mean, do you have any stops that you're looking forward to on the road? Because that's one of the perks of the broadcaster life is getting to see, some new areas.
I appreciate it all. I know that's a cliche answer, but I just love trying new places and seeing things, meeting people. I just got back from Portland earlier today. I had an idea of what I wanted to see, what I wanted to do. Had the ability, went to a cool food truck area. I went to the International Rose Garden. But I just like the process, just going out and seeing new things. So I'm really excited to be able to go to Portland. Pickles again, I've heard a lot about their fan base. It's a different environment down there. All of it. I don't have a specific place that I'm really excited to, but I know I'm going to enjoy it. Every new stop that I go to, just came back from Nanaimo, never been there. And it was a great time. I'm only there for a little bit, and who knows when I'll be back up here. So I'm going to enjoy it, and every place that I get to go, appreciate it, and just try and soak it in.
Yeah, we have a swarming bee or some kind of yellow jacket. I'm about 2 seconds away from swatting here live on the pod.
Gotta be careful, it's going to get you swimming.
I know, it thing is very close to the microphone here at the Rourke Ridgefield Outdoor Recreation Complex, home of the Ridgefield Raptors, and as we do this podcast live, we're in the elements out here. But, I mean, going forward to the fall, how many sports have you broadcasted, like in general, outside of baseball?
I've called baseball, obviously, basketball, softball, soccer. Did I mention softball? I think that's all of them. Volleyball, there's another one. I don't want to miss that one. But I already mentioned I want to do football. Hockey, that's one of the... I've heard if you could do hockey, you could call any sport. So, yeah. But I'm open to trying anything. Open to trying new sports. I had a good experience with softball. I didn't know much about it. I knew coming from a diamond sport background, there were some similarities, but I appreciate the nuances and the intricacies, different. A lot of it's similar, but there's fine rules that are different in softball, and I've come to appreciate it and enjoy it.
And what's your process like when you're going into, let's say, a basketball game?
I love basketball. One of my main goals in my career, I want to call an NBA game, call college basketball. I love the pace of play, but I need my charts. That's a big thing, but the charts are a grind. Cooking them up, and I've learned to give myself more time. But I love talking to coaches, just hearing their game plan, like how the coaches break it down from their point of view. I think it's funny to me, and I used to be one of those people who, when I'm watching a game, say, "Oh, I could have made a better decision. What is he doing out there?" But the level that these coaches, especially in college, know the game, how well they're students of the game, and I love picking their brain and hearing them break down strategy, talk about a game, how they're going to defend this player, and how they galvanize a team and get each individual to buy into a goal.
Are there any coaches out there that you think are really the best for broadcasters to feed off of, or somebody you can name as an example, is that kind of great coach that you were talking about that allows a broadcaster to take nuggets from them and insert it into the broadcast? Like
color commentators or coaches that I've dealt with? Could be,
either one.
Well, I've been lucky to spend time with the St. Edwards basketball coaches, Jay Jarrell of the women's program and Andre Cook of the men's program. And the way they've both welcomed me into the program, let me go to practice, let me pick their brain, let me ask them questions, interview players, and allowed me to immerse myself around the team to get ready for a game is something that has been instrumental to my development. And it has allowed me to grow so much, just being around the athletes, the staff, just bringing me into the program is something that I'm especially grateful for and I appreciate, because those are vital reps. In this business, you can't get better without doing it. Whenever I had the chance to talk to professionals and people who are working, who are broadcasting full-time, the number one advice when you're first getting started, call a game any way we can. We all have phones, voice memos, we all have YouTube, we all have recording devices. There's no way to not be able to be getting better. And I know it's not the most fun thing to do, to consistently call a game by yourself, to be up late or up early, getting scoops, scavenging the web, trying to find storylines and stats about these players. But I believe that everything will come around. The hard work does pay off, and going through the grind now there's no shortcuts to the top. And just putting your head down and working is the best way to reach your goals in anything, for that matter.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite athlete growing up that you think almost has motivated your broadcasting career in a way?
I love the Royals. I always love the 2014-15 glory days for the Royals, the World Series ring, as well as the pennant back in 14. So I loved watching Hosmer. Perez is still playing, but I love watching those guys. Joel Goldberg, the color commentator. Ryan Lefebvre has been doing it for as long as I can remember. Rex Hudler, he came over from Anaheim back in 2012. He's been there. Like I said, I was young when he first came on, but I grew up with those guys. Kyle Peterson, the Omaha connection, so whenever I see him on the TV, it's cool. We have family friends with them. And a coach that I really love listening to, back to basketball, Hubie Brown. I think he's 90, if not, he's pushing 90, still calling games. And the late, great Bill Walton. I love listening to Bill Walton, just his personality, just the way he calls a game, the vibe that he brings to a broadcast is just irreplaceable. And we're going to miss him.
Yeah, I know you're talking about a few, but do you have broadcasters that you'll consistently listen into to take, bits and nuggets from them to try and learn from and grow?
Joe Davis is at the top of the baseball world for the Dodgers, voice of the World Series. Dave Sims is somebody that I've really been listening to as of late, being in the Pacific Northwest as well. As being a Creighton basketball fan, he calls Big East Hoops on Fox Sports. And he used to have a show with Coach K, and he's a veteran in the game, been calling and broadcasting for 5 decades now, since the 70s. Dave Sims is great. And Kevin Burkhardt's I really pay attention to the hosts. Sage Steele for ESPN, she was amazing. Love Stephen A. Love me some Stephen A. First Take. And for Mike Breen, but anybody I see, if I see a walk-off or just a routine play on social media, I'll take a moment to watch it, see if I can pick anything up. I'm always learning, always taking bits and nuggets from broadcasters that I hear, and just always, some things I like, some things I don't, but that's the beauty of it. You can pick and choose.
Yeah, and for you, when you're out there at a game, what are the things that you have in front of you? Like, how many different pages do you try and keep track of? Because you can have everything, but it's going to get overwhelming at some points. You have to pick and choose. What do you have, like when you're calling a baseball game with the Black Bears, how many items do you have in front of you to draw information from? I
have my OneNote notebook online, which is absolutely huge for prepping, just keeping everything right there. And it's helpful when teams get their information early. I have an opportunity to scour over rosters, look every single guy up, make sure where they went to school, what they're doing, where they've been, where they're from, high school, things of that nature. And then I always have my scorebook. That's the big one, especially in baseball. With so much going on, if you don't have your scorebook, you're going to get overwhelmed. And it's pretty overwhelming with it, but you absolutely need it. And I like to write notes down on my scorebook. And we finally got a couple games under our belt, so I like to use any spare space, put averages, trends. Once we get day 2, day 3 of series, I'll put how the players have done so far, little nuggets of the players' stats. And before the game, that's when the work's done. Before the night before, that's when it's really getting down to it. Once we get into the game, you kind of just got to roll with what you got. And, hopefully you got to trust your work that you put in and know that you're going to be ready.
Yeah, and have you learned anything already from getting this? This is a new kind of grind in baseball where you've got 6 games a day. That's kind of a major league, minor league schedule, or 6 games a week, I shouldn't say a day. But, if 6 games a day, you might need to retire. But, 6 games a week, how do you manage your time effectively for prepping?
You got to have a routine. You absolutely need a routine. And for me, I'm lucky. I'm an energetic guy, so I use that towards my work, but you got to be able to know, like, if I'm going to get up, you got to get up. You know, it's going to sting. Getting out of bed those first 5 minutes, they're killer. You know, we get later into the year, we're going to understand how tough it can be. Some days are harder than others, but just sticking to it, getting up, getting your breakfast, and dedicating 1-2 hours a day to make sure, like, you're going to lock it in for this time. This is what it's going to count. And then, as well as that, keeping an eye on the schedule. We got pre-series write-ups, post-game graphics. Just be able to keep on a schedule, because the key is to stay on top of it. Once you get behind, it's able to get overwhelmed, consumed, and under the current. Just get swept away. So the key is to stay on top of it, stay in a routine, just make sure that you're doing what you need to do every single day. Try not, everybody's going to need an off day, but to be able to stick with it and to know, like, this needs to get done today. And no matter what, no matter how tough it is, once you get it done, once you stay in a routine, it's going to pay dividends. You're going to be grateful to just sticking with the routine and staying strong.
Yeah, and how much does the ancillary work around play-by-play, be that writing, hosting, anything that you've done, reporting, help you in the broadcast booth?
Writing's big, and I had a class my freshman year at college, finding your writing voice. And I didn't see eye to eye with the professor, but that's the lasting impression that I took from her classes, finding your writing voice. And it goes to finding who you are in the booth. You may take a similar style, similar approach to the game, but finding your personality, bringing your authentic self into the booth is huge, not only in your broadcasting, but in your writing. I'm writing a couple articles a week, writing Instagram captions, social media, as well as, scripting out pregame, postgame shows. I'm not going word for word, but I got an idea of, like, the script of the points I want to hit. And that's something that's been very helpful working in this league. Once on game day, we have a lot of creativity, free reign in interviews, post-game shows, pre-game shows. We do a Black Bears on the road feature where I had a chance to talk to one of the players and get to know them, because the longer this season goes on, you want to dive deeper into those storylines, deeper than the surface, and get to know these players and build an identity for this team and allow the fans to connect with these players.
Yeah, and have you had any interactions with the fan base yet? Maybe that comes with being the voice of a team.
Yeah, I have. My opening night against Corvallis, there was a kind lady. She baked me a banana almond bread, and it was really good, and it was a kind gesture that I greatly appreciated, just being welcomed into the community. And it meant a lot. It was a nice little bar, but I appreciated it. And she asked me about my upbringing. She told me she wanted to know about Nebraska. So it was cool. They saw the little bio and write-up and the press release that the Black Bears did. But it's something that we want the community to rally around. And it'd be cool to get to know the fans, because it makes it that much more special when you get to know the people you're calling for. And people care about the team and the work that you're doing.
And for those that are unfamiliar, a lot of summer college wood bat baseball, you're getting into a host family, and that's basically an experience where you're going into someone's home and they're welcoming you in there for your stay in the area. So your host family, I mean, what's that been like, and what have you learned?
Oh, they've been great. My host family has been welcomed me with open arms since day one. They texted me a couple of weeks before I got there, and they're great. Both parents go to the games, have had a chance to meet their daughter, their grandchildren, come around the house. So kind of like that community aspect, I've really felt like I found a good group of people. The host family's been amazing. It's always a bit of a gamble when you're going into a situation where you don't know what to expect. The variables are out of your hands. You understand you're going through the same thing, but to have it work out, you appreciate it even more, especially when there's that chance that it doesn't work out. You don't know what's going to happen, so you take a leap of faith and trust that you're going into a good situation, and no matter what, you just try to make the best of it. And I'm extremely lucky. I haven't had to deal with any hardships. Everything has been perfect for me, but there's always a little bit of anxiety, just angst, with uncertainty. But dealing with that, it's the name of the game, and who can handle it better is usually the people who tend to have the best experiences in everything that they do.
Yeah, and are there any teams, and I know you mentioned the NBA, but are there any teams and cities that you want to visit and broadcast in? Especially, we've been talking out west. Is there anything out east you're looking at?
Yeah, there is. So last summer I lived in California. I've always wanted to live in the LA area, Hollywood. So cross that off my bucket list. I had a great time, and I don't know if I'd live there. I don't know if I could do it long term, but I'm grateful for the experience. I would love to go back. Always love going back to the mountains, the palm trees, Hollywood. It's always a good time being back in LA. I love Boston. My older brother lived there for a time. I really enjoyed it. And Florida, I know you have my history in Miami. Graduating from the U, Miami would be absolutely sweet. New York City, I'd love to be in the Big Apple. So I'd love to experience these big cities. Being from the Midwest, Omaha is not small. It's a nice sized city, forever be home. But I'd love to be able to experience a big market and to work with primetime teams and call the big games.
Yeah, for sure. And you, can you go back to last summer, what that was like, who you're with, and what, you did basically?
I was with the Arroyo Seco Saints in the California Collegiate League. And that team's based in Pasadena, so right in LA. And it was an experience. We were packing, for the first part of the summer, 5 guys into a 2-bedroom apartment in Pasadena. And then one of my coworkers didn't make it through the summer, so it was 4 guys, got a little bit more room. But it was great. I loved it. It was a grind. It was a hustle. But for the first time in my life, broadcast was the main focus. And kind of like we've been speaking about earlier, finding your routine, making sure we get to the gym, making sure we enjoy our time. I made sure to do that. I didn't miss a day to explore. Every off day I was seeing something new that Greater LA had to offer. But it was a great experience. And for any young broadcasters looking for a job, I totally recommend working for the Saints, working out in California, working anywhere, calling summer league baseball. This is my 2nd year, just getting reps. I think it's huge for any aspiring broadcaster that wants to get a taste of the grind and see, is this really the lifestyle for me?
Yeah, and off that point in Los Angeles, I mean, I've been out there to visit. It's really a neat city, but did you get to go on the travel, and is it similar to this summer? Were you getting 6 games a week?
Yeah, it was 5 games a week. So, but still, for the first time, it was a lot, and it took me a while to get used to it. I remember that first 5-game set. It took a lot out of me. I was like, oh my gosh! And you had those thoughts, like, am I going to be able to do this? And it's a lot, but you manage. You learn to figure it out and work with what you got. And the quicker you can adjust, learn what works, what doesn't, you figure out what you need to do to make sure you're ready each and every night, your summer becomes that much more enjoyable. And there's going to be a learning curve, but it comes with growth. And that's how you're improving, when you feel uncomfortable, you feel stressed and pressed. So find a way to overcome that and build and find a way to get better. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, what were some of the cities that you visited that were really cool out there in Cali?
Well, the ride out there was amazing in itself. I drove from Omaha, Nebraska out to Pasadena. So we went through Colorado, Utah, Zion National Park, had my first taste of Las Vegas. And then once we got to California, we had a chance to see Hollywood, Diamond Bar. My girlfriend lives out there. She has LA roots. And for the teams, had a chance to see Compton. I'm a rap fan, so I've heard a lot about it. West Coast legend, so it was cool to be able to see Compton, see LA, the city. Had a chance. It's interesting. One of the best fields in the league was the MLB Youth Academy in Compton. And it's a testament to MLB and the Angels and Dodgers really supporting baseball in the inner cities, putting money forth, building a sanctuary right in the heart of South Central LA with a gorgeous field on the campus of Compton College. An amazing field, and it's just investing in baseball is one of the best ways to grow the game, show that you care. But I had a chance to go to Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, Monterey for a wedding at the end. There wasn't a team up there. Conejo in Ventura. We're at Cal Lutheran, so just greater LA, Orange County. I covered about as much ground in LA County as you can. for a summer. I think I had a great experience. I got a true taste of living out there.
Nice. And did you, is there a baseball team that you think you would like to broadcast for the most, and especially, Major League with the dream goal?
I love the Royals, but I'd take a job anywhere. I really would. Just got to work my way, put my head down, and eventually I believe that time will tell, and I think if it's in my plans, I think I'm going to work as hard as I can. But if the opportunity to work in the big leagues were to arrive, I take it in an instant.
And, you brought up, having a girlfriend, so that brings up the relationship aspect.
Yeah.
So how do you even manage that when you're literally going all across the U.S. in this industry?
It's been busy. We've spoke about that. I've told her that I don't know where I'm going. I'm thinking about grad school next year, but there's a lot of uncertainty. And it can be stressful. You don't know what's going to happen, but she's very understanding. She understands the grind of what's going on with me, how my life is right now, and what's going to happen. And she's amazing and supportive of that. So it's been very helpful to have somebody with me and by me that understands what I'm going through and is able to push me into my corner.
Yeah, because I've asked pretty much everyone about that relationship aspect, because it definitely gets tough when you're doing play-by-play and moving all around. And, also going back to, your tactics. I mean, as you ramp up for the fall, what do you think you'll be prepping for any sports, like at the end of the summer, simultaneously with baseball?
Well, I'm always paying attention to all sports that are going on. I've spoken to some people back in Texas about the opportunity of working in high school football. And I always like to keep tabs, players, schools, and as soon as I know there's an opportunity to work, I'm gonna start getting ready. Just start amping up my preparation, always staying ready. So, when the time comes, it's not overwhelming. Because that's the hardest part. Is that the easiest way to take the joy out of it for me is to get overwhelmed in the prep and let it get caught up in the games and then not be able to enjoy the ride and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, what do you think has been the best piece of advice, like a solo piece of advice that someone's given you so far for, managing play-by-play in the industry?
Man, that's a good question. That a lot of the advice, the common denominator is networking. And the way I look at networking, it's not much of what somebody can do for you is relationships. And it's really a relationships business, knowing people, being there for people, creating a network of people that you can build, that can push you to be better, and that can help you navigate the industry. Finding the right mentors is extremely important. And that's what I'd say the biggest advice is, surrounding yourself with the right people and not being afraid of getting stood up, not be afraid of getting ghosted. That's going to happen, but when you find the right kind of people, right mentor to help you navigate through this industry, it's absolutely huge for your development and as well as just building and growing personally and professionally.
Yeah, and when you talked about the NBA, but what is your favorite sport, you think, like in general in the broadcast?
Oh man, I love baseball. I come from a baseball background. I really enjoy softball. Softball, I love calling it. It's different. Softball is much faster. It's your perception. It's the diamond is shrinked, so every play is a close play. And basketball, those are my top three. Say baseball, basketball, and baseball, basketball, and football. But you could group softball in with baseball.
Yeah, those are a lot of good sports. And as you look forward to, I guess there will be a break in between the season, the West Coast League. Are you going to be trying to do anything in that little break?
Yeah, so before I embark on my road trip back to Nebraska before Texas, I'm going to swing down towards Lake Tahoe, meet my uncle and his three daughters and I believe it's my nephew or cousin. It'd be my cousin's son, so I don't exactly know what the relationship is. but I'd love to meet him. Hopefully, he lives in San Diego with my cousins. Hopefully they swing up back to Tahoe. I'm excited. I'm going to take Highway 101 down the Oregon coast and then stop in Tahoe, maybe Arizona. So that's going to be my time after. But as exciting as that is, I'm very focused at the task at hand and want to stay where my feet are.
Yeah, and you know, with the rest of the season, I guess, you know, last few questions. Do you have any big thing you're trying to improve on and get out of this summer with the Black Bears the most?
My confidence, just keep building, as well as calling an entire game. You know, that for me is finding how to keep it interesting in the beginning, middle, and end, and becoming that complete broadcaster, as well as develop some more hosting skills. And I do that every game. I try to do a pregame show for the Black Bears, just to get fans ready for the game, and then practice my own in the radio style.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And again, this is Jack joining us. And, you know, on the last thing, I mean, is there anything else you want to add or anything you want to shout out that you have going on moving forward?
Just tune into the Black Bears any chance you get. You know, we play 6 nights a week, a lot of opportunities. We're just getting started. Not the start we wanted to the year, but this team, they're going to figure it out, and I think we can make a playoff run at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that was a good message there by Jack, which, again, you want to tune into the West Coast League and his stream over at CowlitzBlackBears.com, and especially because the West Coast League breaks up in the first half and second half, so you could go 0-27 in the first half and still have a chance at the postseason because of the second half split, where you can go there and go 27-0 and win your division and do that. So it's all going to reset midway through, and you'll have another whole chance and a crack at it. So it's really interesting. If you want to go ahead and tune in, Jack will be on the mic there for the Black Bears. But this is about going to do it for the Announcers Hour. We've been live from the Ridgefield Outdoor Recreation Complex. First time doing this podcast outside, so Jack will be a special guest for that. And we've since had another, it looks like a baseball meeting here will soon be taking place or something, but it's going to be interesting, and thanks everyone for tuning in.